Yes, welcome to the second video of our video series where we were discussing about how you are going to master Filament PHP from scratch. So in this second video, as I've mentioned in my previous video, is where we are going to start building admin panels by using Filament PHP. So in this particular video, we are going to look into details about the Filament PHP resources. So I'm going to explain to you every single detail that you need to know in order for you to be able to utilize the powerful feature of resources. So without further ado, let's go and navigate to the documentation. And now let's go to the Get Started page. And from here, you can see lastly we created this application, and once we have installed the Filament PHP, so we were able to visit this link and we seen how the application will looks like. So for example, if now I visit to admin, so you see we had this Filament login page where you can be able to log in with a user, but also you can be able to create a user. It means you are creating a new account, but also we enable this feature for forgot password. So this will not work until when we configure the email configurations, and then that's where we can complete this feature. So for now, these two features we added through this settings or the configuration file of our Filament PHP. So we just added these two pages, but for now I'll just remove them because I'll show you this where we reach the section where I'll be explaining to you all about the authentication feature of Filament PHP. So for now, let's just remove that and refresh so that we have the normal or the default page that Filament comes with. So now let's log in with our test user. Okay, it's not this user, so let me see what are the details. So to see the user that we had, let me just open the adminer here. Let's open it in our browser right here, and then let's log in. And from the users table, let's see the user that we have. So this is the name, the email of the user. So let's copy it and let's use it here. And for the password, I guess this password, let me just put this. And now let's try. So this is the user that we have. So now this is our application, this is the dashboard, it's expanded, so we don't have any resource or anything inside our Filament PHP admin panel. So now the first step will be to see here. So we have the resources, which are the core of your Filament application. So basically they are used to create the CRUD UIs for your models. So means they will create the listing page, create page, and edit page, but with the option of adding the view page, which is a read-only page for just displaying the records. So all of those three pages will be generated automatically when you just create the Filament resources. But also in your application, you expect to have the widgets as I've shown you on my demo, but also we expect to have the custom pages. But for today's video, the main purpose is to discuss about the resources. So let's dive into this page. Okay, so from here, this is the simplest way that we can just start to create our resources. But for the sake of our video, in order for us to be able to test everything that we need to have, it's a good idea to have a project that we need to do. So here I've just created some of the models and their migrations that I'm going just to paste here. So let me just create those, because we are just going to create a simple inventory management application by using FilamentPHP, so that we can be able to see FilamentPHP in action. So now let me just show you. So we are going to start to create these models. So the first model will be, so make model. Then the first model will be category. So I'm going to create its migration too. That's why I've passed this flag. So here you can see we have the category.php model that has been created, and also we have the migration file for it. So now let's create another model. So let me clear my terminal, and let's create another, which will be called the supplier. So let's create a supplier model with its migration file. And then after that, we need to have another model which will be called the product. And after product, we are going to have another one which will be called the stock movement. And the other one will be purchase order. And the last one will be purchase order item. Okay, so after that, now let's clear the terminal and let's update the models and migrations. So the first thing will be to update the migrations. So let's start with the category migration. And in here, I'm going to paste the following codes. So we are going to have the string name, we are going to have the text for storing the description, then we are going to have the image, but this is optional. You can add it or you can just remove it if you want. But also we have the boolean, which will be checking the status by checking if that is active or not active, and by default it will be active. And this is nullable, also this one is nullable. Now let's go to the next migration file, which will be for the suppliers. And in suppliers, we are going to have the following fields. So we are going to have the name, we are going to have the email, which will be nullable by default, the phone number, address, contact person, and then the status, if they are active or inactive. The next one will be the products. So let's copy the product fields, and then I'm going to paste them here. Okay, so here you can see on the product we're going to have the name of the product, the SKU, and which will be unique. We are going to have the description, the category ID, the supplier ID, which are the foreign keys for those two tables, and for the suppliers can be nullable. And then we are going to have the purchase price, the selling price, the current stock, the minimum stock, or you can just call it restocking level or anything that you want. And then we are going to have the unit, which can be pieces, kilograms, liters, and etc. Also, we are going to have the field that you can store the barcode if you have implemented that functionality, but also we have the field for storing the images, and then we have the field for status, which will be able to track if that item or product is active or inactive. And then we have these two indexes, which will help us in terms when we want to search. So this will help us for helping the optimization of our database. So now let's go to the next migration file, which is stock movement. So in stock movement, we are going to have the following fields. Okay, so here you can see we have the product ID, because we are going to track the movement of our product. So we are going to track that which product has been moved, which user moved a certain product, the type of movement, which can be in or out, and also adjustment. But for now, for simplicity of our video, I'll just stick with this one. So we just only have the in and out, and then we are going to see the quantity that has been moved. We are going to see the integer of the previous stock. So this will help us to track the previous stock and the new stock. So this will show those details in a very perspective way. And then we are going to have the reason, which user will be filling the reasons as to why they are doing either in or out stock movement. Okay, and then we are going to see the date of that stock movement, and down here we have the index that will help us to keep track of those two and the optimization of our database. So when we are querying, instead of querying through all the table, so this index will help us to optimize that querying time. Okay, and after that, now let's update the purchase orders. So in purchase orders, we are going to have the following fields. So here we are going to have the order number, which is a string, which should be unique. Also, we are going to have the supplier ID, which will help us to track that this purchase order was ordered to which supplier. And then we are going to see the user that ordered that order, and then the status of the order, which is an enum field, which can be pending, ordered, received, or cancelled, and by default it should be pending. And from here you can see we have the date of the order, the expected date, and the received date. So the expected date means the date that you expect to receive that product or the order that you have ordered from the supplier, and we have the received date. So this will keep track of when you were expecting, but when did you receive exactly the order. And here we have the total amount, means it will restore the total amount that this order cost. And here we have the notes, if the user wanted to add anything or any notes concerning with this purchase order. And we have the index for optimization. Other than that, we have the purchase order items. So here we are going to have the following fields. So we are going to have the purchase order ID, which will track that from here, and then it will be a foreign key here. Also, we are going to have the product ID, means which product do you order, and we are going to have the quantity that it was ordered, the quantity that is received, the unit price, and the total price. So this unit price will be for a single product, and then the total price is we will get it by using the quantity ordered times the unit price. That's where you get the total price. So after adding these tables, now let's run the migrations. PHP @sun migrate. So those tables were created successful. Now let's update the models. So we are going to start with the category. So here on category, you can see this is our model, and I've used this trait, which has factory, and we have this protected fillable attribute, which will define all the fields that we have from the database. Here I have casted the is active, which is status, to be a Boolean field, but here I have relationships. So the first relationship is a one-to-many relationship between the category and the product. So one category will have many product. So you can see it is has many product. And also we have the scope here, but this is a little bit older way of defining scopes. So I'll just change that to use the modern way, which we are using attribute. So I'm going just to use the attribute called the scope. Okay, so make sure you import this one, and I'll just leave it that way. Okay, so make sure that you've imported this scope, which is an attribute. So by using this way means you are going to get all the active items. So I'll show you how you are going to use these scopes. So the scopes actually is just a way of adding constraint to your models. So when you are just want to call a certain details that have a certain constraint, this is just like a predefined constraint or predefined queries. So I'm going to show you this in details, how you're going to use them and how they fasten the development of your application. The second will be the supplier. So now let's update the supplier model. So our supplier model will be like this way. So here you can see we have the model, we have the fillable properties. So just to make sure that they are corresponding the details on your migration. Here I have the cast, I have the model, I mean the product. This is a relationship between the supplier and the products. Also we have the purchase orders, because we are ordering these purchases from the suppliers. So we have to know this supplier has which purchases or which orders. Okay, so also we are going to update this one because I want to get the active suppliers. So let's use again here the scope, import that. Okay, that way as we did for the category. Now let's go to the product. Let's update that. So now let's import this one. So make sure you've imported that has factory, and make sure that this is corresponding to the migration. Then we have the cast. So you have to cast those, let's say, purchase price to be decimal, and it should have the decimal places of 2, and the selling price, current stock, and the minimum stock, to make sure that these are the integers and these two are the decimals, and that one should be a Boolean. Here we have the relationships for between the product and the category, supplier and product, and we have the stock movement, we have the purchase order items, and we have the scopes down here, and other usable, let's say, helping methods that I'm going to explain to you. So for these scopes, let's update them. So let me just update this one to use the attribute scope. So we can just copy that and use it here, also here. Okay, and then here we just need to change this one to be low, and here out. Okay, out of stock. So here, if you want to get the low stock, means all the items or the product that have low stock, means that the minimum stock is less or equal to the current stock, means those product will be scoped as the lowest stock. But also we need to get the scope of all users, I mean all products that have out of stock, means the current stock is either 0 or below 0. Okay, so this is how easily you can just add those constraints, and then I will show you how to use these methods. And down here I have a helping method which I've defined inside this product model, which is called is out of stock, which will help us to check if this product is out of stock. But also we have this one that will help us to get the status attribute. So we are going to get the stock status attribute. So we are just going to check if the product is out of stock, and then if it's out of the stock, so we are going to return out of stock. But if it's slow, we are just going to return it slow. And if these two will not be met, then this is in stock. Okay. Similar way on here, we are going to get the colors. So I'm going to show you how to use these colors. And down here, I have this event that I'm checking. So when I'm creating a product, I want to produce or to create this SKU by default, so automatically to be created. So means we are just going to generate a random unique ID, but we are going to make it to be upper, which means it is going to be in upper cases, and the initial will be just product. So this is just an abbreviation of product. And here I'm just going to check if it's empty, so means that the product that has been created, if its SKU is empty, that's when we are going to generate that SKU. But other than that, means everything is clear in here. So all of this will be helpful when we start to create our project. Now let's update the stock movement model. And now it should be like this way. So it has the protected fillable attribute. We have the cast, we have the relationships here, and also this way of using the scope is not breaking anything if you are using it in Laravel 12, but it's a good idea to use this way, which is new, by using just a scope. This is scope attribute. But if you leave it this way, nothing will change. So I'll just leave it that way. Now let's go to the purchase order. So the purchase order now will be like this way. And you can see we have the fillable cast, we have the relationships. So you can just go through these relationships. So you can see we have the supplier, user, items, which will come from purchase order item. We have the scope, which this is for pending orders. We have the ordered, received, and here when you create an order, which is a purchase order, we want to generate the order number, which is this one. So it will start with PO, means purchase order. Then we are going to generate the other numbers by using this way. So you can just go through this code, because I'll share it on my GitHub so that you can be able to understand what I was trying to do here. So now let's update the purchase order item. And now let me paste it here, and this is how it looks like. So all the code will be available. So I'm just trying to be quick so that we can focus on explaining and understanding the resources, on how you're going to use the resources. So now, since we have all the models well and set up successful, now it's time to start to generate the resources. So now we are going to generate resources for each of these models. So now let's start with the category one. So from here on the documentation on resources, you can see here, this is just a simplest way that you can create a filament resource. So you just need to query this command. So call that command, and then here you are going to pass the name of the model. So make sure that you pass here the name of the correct model. Okay, so we are going to use the same way. So just run PHP @make, then filament resource, Then here we are going to call the category model. Okay, so this will create just a filament resource, but the downside of this command, it will not generate anything, so it will be just an empty resource that you need to go inside it and try to generate other forms and tables. So for now, let me just run it and show you how it looks like. So here the first question you'll be asked is the title attribute, which will be used in global search. So you can just pass it or you can just ignore it. But if you want to show it, means you can just pass here the field that you can use it to search for these categories. So for the category, we have the name, so you can just pass the name, which will be used to search. But also here you see it will ask you if you want to generate the view page, means the read-only page for your resource. So by default it is no, but you can opt to generate it. But for now I'll just return the no, so that I don't want it. And also here it should ask you if you want to generate the forms and the tables from the current database columns. So for now I'll just say no, because I want to show you how it will look like before you use these options. And then after that we are going to see on how it will look like if you use this option to yes. Okay, so now here we have a new directory inside app. We have a new directory called the filament, and inside it you see we have the following directories. So we have the resources, and inside the resources is where you have the directory for the resource that you have created. So we have the resource that is called the categories, and inside categories is where you find these three categories, directories, and this one file. So this directory is called the pages, which store all the forms and other things that you need to have. So it will store the pages for listing, editing, and creating our model. And then after that we have the schemas, which will store the category form, means the form will be stored here, but if you create the view page, also it will be stored inside the schemas. And here we have the tables, where we'll see the table listing of all categories. And here is where you see we have the new file, which is called the category resource. So in this resource, this is where the configurations are done. So from here you can see this actually is a change from Filament version 3. Lately we were just having the form here and the table here, but now in Filament version 4 this is the change, means that the form will be in a separate directory, which is called the schemas, and here is where it will be defined, and then it will be referenced in this category resource file. So this is how it looks like. So if you try to open this one, it will direct you back to this form. Okay, so that's the change that comes with the Filament version 4. And down here we have the table. So this is the table, the configuration table of all the fields or the columns that we have from the database. And here you can define the filters, the record actions, and also you can define the bulky actions down here. Okay, but there is more of the configurations that we can do inside our tables and also inside the form. So remember all of these referenced here, and the main purpose of just separating these files is just to help you to make this file to be a little bit clean and easy for you to manage the code. So now this is how easy you can just manage this resource, because now it is very short, but all the configurations you will find them by visiting this class or this page. Okay, so now means if we go back to the application and refresh it, we should be able to see the new resource from here. And here you can see we have the categories link that has been added on our sidebar. So if we visit that link, you are going to see the first page that you're going to see. This is called list. So you can see it is categories, then list. So means you are now accessing the listing page. So if you go back here from the category resource, you see down here there is a function called the get pages, and which return an array of these pages. So these are the routes for the pages that has been generated by using by Filament actually. So here we have the index, which is this one, which serve the purpose of listing the categories, and this is the one that we are actually seeing here. And from that page, down here you can see we have the create page, and also we have the edit page. So all of these pages, you will find them inside here. So we have the create category, edit category, and the listing of those categories. So all of that, they are used to create this resource. So you can see from here, if you visit the new category, means you are going to see the form, but down here you see there is nothing. Why there is nothing? Because on form, if you visit here, you see we didn't define anything inside here. So means even here you will not see anything, but you will only see these actions, which are for creating, create and create another, and for the cancel. So now, in order for this form to be generated automatically, means for now you are just supposed to start to build this from scratch. So you are just supposed to add the text, let's say input, like this one. So we are supposed to add something like this. For example, you are supposed to say text input, and now if you go back here and refresh, you should be able to see that field here. You see? So this is how you are supposed to start to add. But this is actually a long way to do it, because Filament has a way to generate those fields automatically. So actually, this way of using simple means you are going to generate that resource, but instead of having a lot of complicated things, so you just use the models. So the models means you are not going to have the separate pages. So right now you can see we have this page for create, and we have the page for edit, and the page, let's say, for listing. But if you are using this simple option, or this simple flag, means you are just going to have this listing page, and when you click this new, it's just going to pop up the model here, and you will not have the separate pages. So that's a simplicity, but this is recommended if your resources are just simple and they don't have any, let's say, complex functionality. But if you want to generate that resource with all the forms and the tables, it's a good idea to use this flag. Okay, so now means we can use this command to generate back our category, so that we can get the fields and tables automatic. So to do so, let's just go back here and let's run the following command and give the flag of generate. So because we already have this, so means when we are generating, it will ask us if we want to replace the existing files. So for now, let's just use the name again for the attribute that is going to be used in a global search. And here you can see we are going to be asked if we want to add the read-only page. So for now, I'll just say yes. And here you can see we want to overwrite it. So we're just going to say yes, 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 and also for the edit page. Okay, so now we've replaced the category form, table, resource, list, create, and edit. So now means if we go back here into our application, you see now on the category form, which was here, now you see we have these fields that were created automatically, and they are created by just using that command that we have run. So just give this flag, which is called generate. But if you don't give this one, Livewire will ask you if you want to generate by using the existing columns. That will also perform the thing. So just do it, because if you try, let's say for other model, let's say for product or for suppliers, let's say supplier, and click enter. Now let's say supplier name, and then you see it will ask you for this. So for the view page, I'll just say no, and you see now it has been created. But if we want to let's say to generate the fields, so you see we have just passed this and that will generate. But if you don't put that one, means if you don't put that generate, it will ask you if you want to generate those fields. So you can see from here, you can just pass down name, and then let's say I'll say no. But here you see it asks me for the configuration files to be generated based on the current database columns. So that is what I was trying to explain to you. So now let me cancel this one, because now here on category we have the form, and also you can go back here and see this is category actually, and now we have the suppliers. So for the category, if you visit the schema, you see we have the form, which is this one, and we have the category info list. So if the info list is the one that you are being asked here, that if you want to generate the read-only view page. So the info list, if you have never used the info list before, so there's a certain section that explains the info list in detail, which is this one, and which I'll show you in a minute. But for now, let's stick here. And now this will be used for read-only purpose. And on table, you see we have this table that was auto-generated, and it was generated based on the fields that we have on database. So you can see we have the name, which is searchable, we have the image, we have the icon column, image column, text, which is the same as this one, but just different configurations. And I'm going to show you each of these configurations, that how they work. Okay, so now let's go back here and visit the category page, and now if we refresh, we should be able to see the fields from the database. Now let's refresh. And here you see we have the name, image, and is active. So from there you can see we have the name on our table, we have the image, and is active. But why we don't see the created art and the updated art here is because those fields now are being controlled by using this function called the toggable, which by default it says true. So it says is toggable hidden by default. It means that they will be hidden by default. So if you put it to true, means they will be hidden, and where they will be is right here. So just click there, and you see here you will see those will be unchecked. So if you check it and apply, now you should be able to see that field here. So you see we have the created art. Similar way for the updated art, you can check it and apply, and if you go back here, you see the fields are shown. But also you can uncheck them and apply, and now you see they are gone. So means you are going to use this. But if you want to make this to be shown by default, you can just put something like that, and then if you go back and refresh, and here you see this is created at, I've just updated the is together by default, let's say false. Now let's see if this works. Means it should show that field here by default. Let's try this way. And if it's not updating automatically, maybe it's because Filament has a tendency of catching these updates or configurations. So what you can do is just to do the following. So you can just run the following command, because on the documentation here there is that section that shows you how you can optimize the local development. So if I open it here, you see, so there is checking or package status, so you can just run that, and here is how you can configure it. So there is other configurations, and you can see this is the way of catching all the blade icons. But there is this command that you can run that is coming from Laravel, so you can just run it here. So php @sun optimize, then clear. So it means we are going to clear all the configurations, and also you can see the configurations and the caches for Filament have been cleared. So if you clear like that way and you go back here, so this, if you refresh again, it should also show the configuration that you did. Yeah, so now you can see this field has been shown automatically. So it means if you refresh again, you should be able to see that field automatically shown. So if I navigate back here, and navigate back to the categories, now you see the field is shown automatically. It means that this will be toggleable by default. So that's why we have a false here. So now means this will be shown by default, but if we change back to that way, means it will be hidden by default. Okay, so now if you want that change to be applied, you have to optimize the application again. Okay, so now we can be able to go to the new page where we can create the new categories. So from here you can see we have the form, which has the name, the description, the image, and the status, which is toggleable. So here you can just toggle this to true or false. And on the name, you can just pass the name that you want. On the description, you can just pass the description that you want. But here you can see these fields have different sizes. So these sizes are just being controllable from here. So you can see from here, for example, on form, this input, you can see from here it is short, like the one for the image, and that is controlled by using this column span. Okay, so if you use the column span to full, means automatically Filament will just make sure that that field extends from here up to here, because that is a column span that you have. But if you just left it that way, means it will just take the one call span. So means that here we have only 12 call span. If you have used the Tailwind CSS or Bootstrap before, so the page actually will have 12 call span. So by using just by lifting it like this way, it will just take the halfway of the call span, which is 6, and it will be up to here. But if you make it to use full span, means it will just take all the 12 call spans that are available. So now you can just change that by, let's say, if you want, let's say, to use only a certain number of call spans, so you can just change that. For example, you can say call span, and then inside it you can pass an integer, string, or a null, and that is where you can control the call span. So for example, if I want to use only the numbers of spans, so now means if you go back here and refresh, now you see, so that is how you can just control the call span. So now let's go back and remove that one. Okay, and let's refresh again. So now it will turn to this state. So now we can be able to start to create our categories. So let's try to add the categories, but for the image upload here, so this is a field actually that you are going to discuss from here. So when you visit the forms, there is different kind of fields. So when we are discussing about the resources, is where we are going to discuss about some of the things about the tables and some of the things about the forms, because that's the easiest way to do it, because without those you cannot create a fully functional resource. So this you can see here, we are just trying to discuss some of the things from the form. So here you can see this is the image, but this comes from the form here, where you have the field to upload files. So this is the one. So let me open it in a new tab. So this is the file. As you can see, you can just give the name of the file as you want, but now on our column you have the column named the image. So this is how it looks like, and you can see down here there is configurations that you can do for configuration for configuring the storage disk and directory if you want. So for example, you can just use a certain type of disk. Let's say for the sake of our video, I'll just use the disk of public. So I'll just say disk, then I'm going to use the public disk, and then we can also create a category in where there's files or images will be stored. So for example, now I can just use let's say directory, then I can say categories. So this will be the directory that will be created inside the storage and inside the public key directory. So here we will have this new directory called the categories, and you can do more configurations. For example, you can pass this one. Let's say if you want to preserve the file names, you can use that one, but for me I'll just leave it that way. And there is other things here. So let's say if you want to upload multiple images, if you want, so you can just use this multiple, and you will be able to upload multiple images on a certain field. Okay, so here we have other things that you can add. So here is where you can cast, if you want to cast that images. And there is other things you can just control the maximum parallel uploads that you can do, and there is more. Basically, this is a preserve file names that I was explaining, and you see if you want to store the file names as their original file names, so there is a way to upload the avatars. So if you want to enable the avatar mode for your file uploaded, so that's just a simple way. But also the other thing that I want to mention is about the image editor. So you can just upload an image and use the image editor to edit the image while you are uploading. So for example, here you can use the image editor, and then if you go back here and refresh, means when you will upload a certain image here. So for example, if I upload this image, let's say this one, see, so the image will be uploaded like this one. Okay, now you should be able to see that this upload is complete. So when the upload is complete, you will see this icon or a button that you can click, which will give you this model that will help you to let's say edit the image that you are uploading. So for example, you can change these pixels for the x-axis and y-axis. You can change the width, the height, the rotation if you want to rotate that image, and there is other things like zoom in, zoom out. You can crop, you can drag, and you can just say zoom to 100%. You can do other things if you want. Let's say flip the image to rotate it. You can see the image is rotating, and you can do other things like just a normal editor that you can have. So you can reset, you can save after you have done all the changes that you want. So that's how easy you can just use this editor. And for now, I'll just leave it that way, and then I'm going to add some datas like that way. And then after adding, let me just put it to active, and then I'm going to create. Yeah, so here you can see the data was created successful, and you have been redirected to the view page of our model. So you can see the resource now redirected us to the view page automatically, and here we have the option to go to the edit page. So now if we go back to the categories, now we should see this data in our table. So here you can see we have the name, image, which does not shown, we have the is active, and created at. So why we don't see the image here, I'm pretty sure because we didn't configure the file storage. So now let me just run this command. So let me run it, php artisan storage link. And also we need to make sure that the default file system that we are using here, the default disk will be public, so that we can be able to access those images by using the public disk. So now let me just try to optimize and clear all the configurations. Okay, now let me go back here and let's refresh our application. So let's go back to the application and refresh it. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. Now let's go back to the categories. Yeah, and now you see the image is shown. So means you need to make sure that you did the configuration that I have shown you, so that this image will be shown here. Now let's go to the view page and see if that the image is shown. So you see the image now is shown as we expected. But here on the form, you have a way to continue to do the customization as you want, because if you go back here and visit the schemas, which I'll show you in a minute, which I believe will be the next step after these resources. So I'll show you the tables and the schemas in a single video. So I'll show you how you can do further customization in our form. But for now, I just want to stick back to the resources. So if you go back to the resources here, we have seen on how you can create the resources, and this is the file structure that we have. So we see that when you create a resource, inside it you will have the resource name, and you have the pages for create, edit, listing, and you will have the schemas where you'll have the file for the form and the info list. Also you'll have the table where you'll have the table configurations. And down here we have seen on how you can automatically generate the files, and let's say this will only work if you have the columns defined in your models and also in your migrations. So that's where you can be able to use this auto-generated form and the table in your resource. And this is helpful because it fastens the generation of the forms and tables. It's just you to come back here and try to customize if you feel this the default or the generated forms or tables are not meeting your needs. So after that, there is other thing if you want to handle the soft deletes. So when you are trying to use the soft deletes, when you are creating the forms, let's say, or the tables, means it's where you want to, let's say, to flag the details to be deleted, but it will be deleted softly. When we are discussing about the soft delete, this is the concept that has been explained in Laravel documentation. So you can just find the soft deleting here. So you can see, so the soft deleting, actually this is the concept where you can just delete details or the data. It's just on a view, but the concept behind the soft delete is a scope. So as I will be showing you the scope here on models, so we have other type of scope. So we have the global scope and the local scope. So the soft delete is one of the examples for global scope, but these ones are the local scopes. So these local scopes means you will just use them here, but the global scope, let's say if you define it, means that everywhere that you just perform any query concerning that model, that constraint will be added automatically. So when you are discussing about soft delete, that global scope means the data will be deleted in view, so they will not be retrieved when you are retrieving all the data, but they will be stored in database. So later on you can be able to delete them. So I'm going to show you how to use that when we are creating the product. So here you can see also the suppliers. I've created that resource. We created that before. So here you can be able to add a new supplier. So you see we have the name, email, phone number, address, and the contact person, also the activity, let's say if it's active or inactive. So I can just fill those details here, and then you can be able to test it if this works. Okay, so now let's try to create. So you see that data has been created, but we didn't being redirected to the view page because in this resource we don't have the view only or the read only page. So you can see from here we don't have the info list. So on the categories on here you see we have the info list. So that's why we don't we were not redirected to the view page. But if you go back to the suppliers, now you should be able to see that suppliers. Similar way, there is fields that you can toggle them or you can untoggle them. Okay, so this is how easy you can just do that. So for the active, so you can change that to be active, and if you cancel, you see now it is active. So that's how easy you can just do that. So now let's try to create the one for the product, and then I will show you how to use the soft delete concept, which is this one. Okay, so now let me just go back here, and then let me run the following command of just creating the resource. Then I'm going to call it product. Then I'm going to say it should generate, but also I want to implement the soft deletes. Okay, so please make sure that it is -- soft, then -- soft deletes. Okay, so use that command like this way, and then press enter. So from here let's use the on the product, which name, we have the, so on the product here we have the field called the name, so you can just use that here. So we are going to use the name to search for the global search actually, and here you see we need to define the read only. I'm going to say yes, and then after that you see the resource was created automatically. So now let's go back to the view, to the page on our application. Now let's see on our browser how it looks like. So you can see the product table, resource has been added here, and you see it has been added automatically, and this will be sorted by using the let's say their names, because you see it is started with the category product, then suppliers, so it will go alphabetically on order. Okay, but if you want to change this order, I'll show you in a minute how you can just change this order. And also if you want to, let's say, to group some of these rings, is just an easy task, so I'm just going to show you that in a minute. And from here you can see when we visit the product, there is this error that we have. So this is called the call to undefined method, which is called the without trashed. So this is an error that is expected, because let me show you why this error has been popped up. So here you can see from the product resource, and if you visit the table, so let's go to the table. From here you see all the columns that were automatically generated. So you can see all of these fields that we have from the migration file. But here you see on filter we have a filter which is called the trashed filter. Okay, so this trashed filter means it will just filter all the details that does not have the deleted art. So means when you implement the soft delete functionality in your system, you need to make sure that in your migration file you define a field called the soft deletes. So for example, in our product here, we need to make sure that we have added that field. So we were supposed to define here something like this, and then call it soft delete. What it does, it will go into the table and it will add a new field which will be called the deleted art. Okay, so it will add a field called the deleted art. So this deleted art field is the one that the global scope for soft delete will be checking. So if the product or the column has the soft delete and it's not null, that field will not be retrieved in listing. So that's the key concept about soft delete. But if you want to understand it more about the soft delete, you can just go here on Laravel documentation and you can just understand it more. So just go to the Eloquent ORM page and visit this soft deleting. So here you can see this is the concept of soft delete. You can see it is adding the field called the deleted art. Okay, so that's how easy you can just do that, and make sure that you add this use soft delete let's say trait into your model. So let's go to the, because we've already added this one, let's go to the model, which is our product model, and use that trait here. So use soft delete and import it, right, that one. So make sure you have imported that one, and now we need to rerun the migration. Why? Because we have added a field that we are not there at the first. So now if we have added this field, maybe you should add this by using the migration file. So what you can do is just to create a new migration file and add this field, and then it will automatically add that soft delete functionality. But I prefer to use the same way file. So what I can do is just to do the remigration, but I want to just only remigrate these tables that you have added now, not the users. So to do so, I just go to the database here, and I'll go back to the database and go to the migration file and open it. And here you can see, here we have the ID, the migration name, and the batch. So all the tables concerning with the inventory management, they are on batch 2. So the users is on batch 1. So I'll not touch anything from batch 1. So I just want to update the batch 2s. So what I'll do, I'll just run the following command. So php @sun migrate. Then I'll have this flag called the rollback. So I'm just going to roll back those migrations, but with the flag of batch or batch, and then I'm going to define the batch 2. So by running that means those tables will be deleted from the database. So if I go back now and refresh here, now you should see the tables are not here. So to reapply the changes, now let me run again with the migration. Okay, but all data for orders, categories and suppliers will be deleted. So that's not a problem actually. So now let's go back to the application, and now if we try to refresh again, now this should work because the trashed will be able to find the filter. So now you see the product has been shown, and you can see the listing of the product. These are the fields, and now we are having the filter here, which is called without deleted records. We have the with deleted records and only deleted records. So those we will see them in a minute. So now let's visit the new product form. So from the new product form here, you can see there is a way that you can add the forms, the products. So these are the fields. You see here we have the category ID and the supply ID. So here, actually by default, you are just supposed to add the IDs, but this is not actually the best practice of doing things. So for the user that is not a tech guy, means it will not be a simplest task to perform this. So from there, Filament gives you a way to do this. So to do this, means we are just going to use the relationship that we have defined in our models to be able to see the categories with their names and suppliers with their names here. So to do so, let's go back to the product resource and let's visit the form, and from here you can see we have this category. So what we are going to do, we are going to use a function called the relationship, and in order for that relationship to work, you need to have the following. So this now will not work. Why? Because if you go back here and refresh, it will not work because this field now is just a text input, and that relationship method is only available on select fields. So now if you go back here, you see, so this method does not exist on text input. So what you will need to do is just to change this from text input to select, and let's import that one. So make sure that you have imported the select, which is coming from filament forms component, then the name of the component, which is select. So after adding that, now let's remove this numeric because that will not be a numeric field again. So now let's go back here and refresh. Now you see we have the category, and also the label has been updated to category, and down here you see we have the select option, but now we don't see any other option that is coming from the category. And now even if you add the categories, for example, if I open a new tab and create a category, let's say if I create a category like this one and make it to be active and create that category, see, so now if I go back here and refresh, here you see I have that category shown here. So I can just create that, I can just click that, and behind the scene it will automatically put the ID of that category inside our category ID field on our product model. So why that was possible, because this relationship method will just find the relationship that you defined here on your model, which is called the category, and from that relationship there is a title attribute that it will check. So this will be the field that will be coming from the category table, which is a foreign table. Okay, we can just call it a parent table to the product. Okay, so from here there is other let's say a more modern way of doing this, because now you see this is just a native select field, that is just a normal HTML field. But if you want to make it to be more Laravel and to give you a feel of more professional, you can just use this function that I'm going to show you. So you can just make it to be searchable. Okay, so to make it to be searchable means now if you refresh again and if you click this field, now you see it gives you the start typing to search. So if we search for that field, you see now we can see that field. But the problem is if we go back here and refresh and click that field, now you don't see that data to be shown here. So until when you started to search, it's where you're going to see that data. But that's I believe the problem. So we have another function called the preload, means all the data will be preloaded if they exist in that categories table. So let's refresh and let's see how it looks like. So now if you click here, you see you are showing that it is loading, and now you can be able to select the data from that table. So you see now we have that data here, and you can just remove like that way. So this is actually good. So now let's click that and let's do the similar thing to suppliers. So make sure that you define the supplier relationship like that one, because if you don't define it, Filament will give you an error. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the suppliers. So let me just copy it like that way. Let's copy these three and let's replace this one. Okay, this way, and this should change to supplier, because that is the relationship name here. Okay, and that should be supplier, and make sure that the name field exists in suppliers table, and also make sure that you update this one to select, because it text input will not accept that. Okay, now let's refresh again. Now you see also in supplier we have that way of selecting the supplier, and still you don't see, we don't have the suppliers here. So let's say there is a way that you can add a button here to create the suppliers from here, but for now I'll just not do that, because now we are focusing on creating just the simplest resources, and we are focusing on creating the resources. So for now let me just go back here and go to the suppliers and create a supplier from here. So let me just create the supplier here and create. Okay, let me close that. So from here now, if I go over here, see the supplier is available. So I can select that. Also, I can select from here, and I can just fill these details like that way. So we have the SKU, but this one we can make sure that this is not required on create page. Why? Because on model we define this method that will be populating that field automatically. So means here we can just hide this field, or we can just say required on, let's say we can just say you can just put something like this, required on, that is not available. So we can just say condition let's say we can just say on edit this one is not available. Let's see, yeah. So here this we can just do the following. Basically you can just leave it to be required, but we can just hide it conditionally. Means we are just going to this, we can just make it to be hidden on a certain operation, which can be create, and you can use this way, or you can just use this helper method, which is called the operation, then you can use the create. So when you do something like this, means on create this will not be required, and it will be added automatically. So on other functionality or on other operation like edit, this field will be available. So for now, if I go back and refresh this, so here we have the text input relationship does not exist. Okay, yeah, I guess we didn't forget, we forget, yeah. So here you see it is supposed to be select, not that way for the supplier. Okay, so it should be like that way. So now let's go back and refresh. Yeah, so now you can see the SKU field has been removed here, so it is hidden by default. Means that now we can be able to create the product. So let's select the category and the supplier, and now let's add the purchase price and the selling price. So the purchase price, let's say, is this one. So let me just put the actual numbers like 1000, and the selling, it should be, let's say, this way. But also you can just add here the let's say currency. You can show the currencies here. So I'll just show you when you will reach the forms. I'll show you how to update those fields and style them in a way that fits your needs. Okay, and now for the image, let's upload the image here. Let me just upload a certain image, let's say this one. Okay, so this will be uploaded here. So now it is complete, and you can see the minimum stock. You can just put the, say, to 10, and now let me save. So now the product was saved successful, and you can see the SKU was added automatically. Similar way, if you go to the edit, now you should be able to see the SKU. But for here, I can just make sure to make this field to be read only. So we can just say read only, so that the user will not be able to update the SKU. So let me refresh, and now you see this field is not editable. So it means the users cannot edit this one. So it will be only created by the system. Okay. So here you see the user can edit any of these details if they want. So they can remove the image and upload another one, or they can perform any other edit functionality as usual. So here is our table, and from the table here you can see we have the SKU, the name, category. Now you see it is category ID with the ID. We have the supplier ID with the ID. So that is not a good way of representing these details for the users that are not the tech guys. So what you can do here, you need also to update the table. So let's go to the table, and let's update these ones to represent the details from these tables, because we have the relationship, so that will be easy. So the relationship is called the category. So from the category we can get the name by using the dot notation. Okay, and here the same way to supplier name. Okay, also this should not be a numeric. So now if we go back here and refresh, now you should be able to see that we have the category and we have the supplier. Okay, and from here you see the purchase price, but you don't see the let's say the currency. So to add the currency from there, you can just use the following way. So you can just say, let's say this is a money column, and you can pass the currency, but if you leave it like that way, the dollar sign will be added automatically. So you see that will be added by default. But if you want to change that one, let's say to USD, you can just pass something like that. But if you want to change that, let's say to TZ shillings, which is Tanzanian shillings, you can just do the similar way. So this will be the currency that you are going to use. Okay, so that way. And now if you, let's say you want to apply the same thing for the selling price, you just need to copy that and paste it here. Okay, so now you see the purchase price and the selling price now are shown as you wanted. And for the status and image, you see everything works as we expected. But here you see on this table we have this search functionality, and this search functionality is available because on these fields we have added these search functions. But now if I try to select all and comment it out, means if I comment them like this way, and also let me just add here the comma here. Okay, and now if I go back here and refresh, now this should be gone. Why? Because we didn't say and we didn't tell Filament if any of this field can be searchable. So it means now Filament cannot be able to search any of these fields. So that is a function of these search functions, or the searchable functions. Similarly to this sortable, means that when you add the sortable is where you are going to see this arrow, and when you click it, you see it is sorting, and you can see here the category, it is sorting the categories by name, and it is sorting them in ascending order. Okay, so similarly you can just do let's say you can just do descending. You see now it will be in descending order, and here you see whenever you add that function is where the sorting will be added. So that's how easy you can just do that. And here you see this is the icon image, or I mean the icon column, which you see from here, which is a tuggable field. And for the image, you just need to say it is image column. But you can change that. Let's say you can do some configurations. Let's say if you want to make it to be an avatar, so you can just use the avatar. Let's say you just need to say, let's say I want to make it to be square, and if you refresh, now that should be in a square size. So you see, and that's how easy you can just do the configurations. But there is more based on the documentation. You can just pass down through the tables, and you see the column called the image column, and from that image column, from here, you see there is different configuration that you can see. You can change the disk, the visibility, the height, and any other thing that you want. Okay, so for now, let's just focus here on your resources. So up to now, we've seen a way that you can add the view page, you can add the soft delete, and here when I'm talking about soft delete, this is the way of filtering. So you can, let's say we want to show all the data with the deleted records, because I've already explained that when you add the soft delete, when you visit this table, let me just go back here and refresh, and you see now we have the product table. And when you visit this table, now you see there is new field called the deleted art, and from here you see the deleted art now is empty. See, it is empty. That's why we see this product. So to demonstrate that, let me create another product. So let me create that product in a quick way, and supplier. Also, let me make it to be active, and then let's create. Okay, so this is another product, and from here you can see this is the second product that I've created. But from here I'm not able to delete it unless if I use the bulk delete functionality. So if I delete this one, means that this product will not be deleted completely from the database, but it will only populate this field with the date and time that we have deleted it, and it will not be retrieved on here unless when you use this filter with deleted records. And even if you use this only deleted records, so you'll only see the deleted records. So here, if you don't want to use this bulk delete functionality, you can just add the delete action from here. So to add it, just navigate here to the record actions on your product table and add the delete action. So let's say delete action, which is this one, and then you make. Okay, and now let's go back here and refresh. So now you see we have the delete action on here. So when you click that, it should pop up the window to ask you to confirm if you want to delete. So it will ask you the name of the model that you want to delete. So it will say, let's say, cancel or delete. So if you click delete, means that data will be deleted, but it will only be deleted in a soft delete way. So now we are on filter of without deleted records. That's why you don't see the deleted record. If you say with deleted records, means you will see now two products. Apply. Now you see we see the product that we deleted before. So that's the magic behind the soft delete. So here you can see we see the deleted product, and also you can show only the deleted record. Apply. You see now we only see the deleted product. So that's how easy you can just do that. But there is more action that you can add, because on deleted item, let's say you wanted to restore this one, so you can just add here the restore action. So you can just say restore action. So by adding the restore action means now you can be able to restore that product, because now if you go back here and refresh and add the filter to show only the deleted product or record, now you should be able to see the recover action, see, or the restore action. And by clicking that means from here, if we go back here and refresh, you see now on deleted art, you see this is populated, but when you restore it means this will be returned to null. So now if we go back here and restore it, and now let's go back to the without deleted record. Now we should see two items, and if you go back here and refresh, now you should see the deleted art to be null. So that's how easy you can just implement the deleted art and use the let's say the trash D or without trash D and something like that. So now let me just go back here, and you can see these are the product that we have created. Okay. Out of that, now let's go back here, and I've shown you how to use the soft delete, how to generate the resources, how to use the simple if you want to use just the models, and also on how you can add the record titles. And these record titles is where you are going to use them for the global searches. So here, if you go back to the product resource, you can see we have this record title attribute, and this record title attribute is the one that we were asked to put the field that will be used to search it on a global search. So here on our application, which is our filament panel, now you see on top right corner here, after this one, you see we have this search field. So this search field is called a global search functionality, and this is the one that will be corresponding to this record title attribute. So the name that you pass here, or the column that you pass here, is the one that will be used to search for that product from here. So from here means even if I'm in a dashboard, so means even if I'm in dashboard here, I can be able to search any product that I want, and I can be able to open it from here. So for example, one of the product that we have, so let me check the name of the product. It is, let's say, UTA or area. So let me try to search for the area. You see? So now I have this area, and you can see it is from products. So from here, I can just click that, and it will open it in a view page, and you can see this is the view page of that particular product. So I can search, let's say, for the UTA, and you see the product is right here, and I can just open it like that way. Okay, so this is how easy you can just have the global search functionality only from this title attribute or record title attribute that you have. So when you remove this one, it means on the product you cannot be able to search for product from here. So let me say if I refresh it and try to search again for the product, you see no search result found. Why? Because we've just removed this one. Okay, so it is important if you want to implement that feature to make sure that you put this attribute in your resource. Okay, so now if you refresh again, that functionality will return and work as we expected. Okay, so you see that's cool. So you see we have all the possible results that we can have. So this one you see the category, so we can open it from here, and we can see the category that we've searched from here. Okay, so now that's cool. Now let's go back here, and actually I've shown you how to configure the forms, how to configure the fields or the components, and how you can be able to configure the tables, and so now, and also I've shown you how you can hide the component based on the current operations. So I've shown you how to hide the let's say the field from the form here based on the operation, which is create operation. So that's by using this way. So you can just use the hidden on and then pass the operation, but alternatively you can use the visible on, but also on visible on it will allow you to pass the operation. Down here I've shown you how to use the resource tables, how you can customize them. Let's say by adding the filters, you can add the actions and also the back actions. So now let me just show you other additional things that you can do inside your resources. So here you can see this is the documentation for the resources, and there is more things that you can do. So for example, you can customize the model label of your model. For example, now the model, I mean the product resource, now you see from the page here of our application, from the sidebar, you see it is called the products. But let's say if you visit this product, you should be able to see that it's here, it says products, and product. But let's say you have named that wrongly and you want to correct it. So what you can do is just choose this attribute which I've shown you, which is called the model label, and make sure that this is can be empty, and here you need to pass the correct name. So let's say instead of product, I want to call them items. Okay, so instead of product, I want to call them items. So if I go back here and refresh, now you see this is called the items. You see the items and the items. So even if I go to the new items, you see it says create items. So that is one way of just changing the model label. But out of that, you can use this way also to change that. Okay. But also you can use this to have a plural model label. But let's say if you have defined it for the singular and you want to put the one for the plural. So this is the way that you can use it. You can use this one, or the alternative way is to use this way. Okay, and if you want to automatically label capitalization, if you want to auto capitalize it, you can just use that. And here on the navigation label, you can just change only the navigation label. For example, if I want to change the navigation label, and from here I can just change this one. So on navigation, I can leave it to be, let's say I can just remove this one like this way, and only on navigation is where I want to see the items. So all the other things will remain with the name of product, but only on navigation is where this will be applied. So if I go back here and refresh this, now you see this is a product, and everything remains product, but only on the sidebar is where you see it is called the items. So means that this is only usable for the changing of navigation label. Okay, but also we have a way of changing the navigation icon, because now you see all these new resources that we've created have the similar icon, you see. So a better way of changing those icon is by using this way. So we can just use this way. Let's say if we want to change that icon, for example, this is the icon that we have now, which is this one. So we can use this way to change that icon. For example, by using the hero icon. So instead of product, I want to use, let's say, cube. So I can just write cube. So this actually you can find this from hero icon official site. So you can just go to the hero icons, and if you visit this one, this is where you're going to see those icons. For example, if I search for cube, so this will be the cube. So I just copy that name, and when you search it here, you will find it there. And now if I go back here on the application and try to refresh, now this icon should change. You see the icon now is like this way, and now you see it is bold. But if I visit the categories, you see yeah, so that is how this looks like. Okay, so that is how you can just change the icons. But instead of using that way, you can use this other way of setting the icon. So instead of using this one, you can use this function called the get navigation icon. So that is another way around. So you can just comment that one and use that from here. So for example, I can use that one, and you can just import these ones. It says this is not found, so let me just remove that one. That up to here. Yeah, I guess that the first way is actually a better way of using this one, because this one require some things that I don't want to deal with them now. So let me just skip it. I bet that you have already understood by using this way. So this is the simplest way. I wish that all you guys you can use that one. Okay, but this is the way that you can sort the navigations, as I've mentioned before, that by default these are sorted by using the alphabetical order. But if you want to change, let's say, the categories to be the second one and the items to be the last one, you can just use this way of using a navigation sort. So let's say, for example, I go back here, and from the product, now the product is on let's say items, so it is the second one. But if I want to make it to be the first one, means I have to go inside here and use this navigation sort. But the thing here, you need to put this one inside all the resources that you have. So for example, if I want to make this one to be the first one, means I need to make sure that this is the on index 0 and copy it. Let's go to the suppliers on the resource. Now let's make it to be on index 1. Let's go to the categories resource, and let's make it to be on index 2. So after doing that, means the item now should be the first one. See? So the item is now in the first one, the supply is the second one, and the categories in the third one. But if you don't want to use that way, you can just comment them, and the filament will sort them according to their alphabetical order. So if we refresh again, you see, so it will sort them accordingly. And the other thing here you can see is the way of grouping your navigations. So by using this one, let's say I can just group my resources. For example, on the product, I want to make it to be on the inventory management. Okay, and now if I go back here and refresh my application, we should be able to see the new group. So this says must be of type this one. Okay, let's use this one. Now let's try to refresh again. Still this does not work. Navigation group must be of unit enum string and unit enum. Okay, so if this still gives you an error, there is this alternative way of using this method. So you can just copy this method and use it inside here. So just comment out this one, and instead of this detail, put there the name of the inventory management. And now if you go back here and refresh again, now you should be able to see that the items now belongs to this group, which is called inventory management. Okay, so that's how easy you can just do that. Also for the supplier, you can just categorize it separately. We can just say this is called the, let's say, supplier management. So now if you go back and refresh, see, so this is on supplier management, this is on inventory management. Also the categories should be inside the categories, it should be inside the inventory management. So let me refresh again. Now you see the categories and items now belongs to the same group, but only the supplier is on separate group. Okay, so we can also group the resource items under another item. So you can use this way to do so, or using this way. Okay, and here there is a way that you can generate the URLs to resource pages. So for example, if you want to get a certain URL for a certain page, let's say you want to use it in a certain different page. So this is the simplest way that you can use to get those URLs. So to show you this in action, I'll just show you from here. So for example, on this category, I can just call it, let's say, let me just call it yeah, I can just call it, let's say, on my listing page of categories. So for example, here on the listing page of categories, here I can just call it from here, and this should be category resource. Okay, so it will be category resource. Now if I visit the page and refresh, that will not show anything because I want to dump it from here. So let me just use the dump, and then I'm going to dump this one. And now let's refresh. And now you can see this is the full URL that we have get from using this method called get URL. But from there you can just define, let's say, the URL that you want. Let's say you want to get the create, you want, let's say, to get with the, let's say, a certain parameter that we have passed. So that is how easily you can just do that. Okay, now on resources, the other thing that you can do is you can be able to customize the resource Eloquent query by using this configuration method, which is called the get Eloquent query. And from this method, you can be able to, let's say, customize on how the details are being retrieved. So for now, if I go back here and remove this one, because we don't need that again, and let's go back here and refresh. So let's go back to the items, and from here you see we have two items. So for example, I want to make this one to be inactive. Let me just make it to be inactive. Just go back here, and you see this is inactive. So now what I can do, I just want to edit on how these details are retrieved, because by default means that all the queries that all the details that we see from the product resource are being queried from the model called the product, and it is querying all the details and it just paginate them. But now I just want to change on how this is retrieving the details. So instead of retrieving all the details, I just want to make sure that it only retrieve the details that are already active. So the inactive or any other way around, I don't want to show them in resources, even if this is not deleted. So now if I refresh this one, you should see now we don't see that the inactive item. So from here you see we don't see that inactive item because it is not deleted. So even if you visit the deleted record, you should not see anything. So means that is just a way of adding like a query scope to your product or to your resources. So this is how easy you can just do that, but just remove it like this way and just continue with our default way of retrieving details. But this is more useful when you just want to control that. Let's say, for example, for a certain kind of user that has been logged in, you can apply this query that you will change accordingly to the user that has been logged in. So you can implement the role-based access, and this will be useful. Okay, and from here, the other thing that I found it that to be useful, you can also customize the resource URL, because now you see this is our URL that we see from the here. So, but you can change this, let's say to be product dash, let's say page. So you can just change that by using this slug. Okay, so you can just change that by using this slug. So you can just put it, let's say somewhere here. Okay, and this you can just say you can say products, let's say page. Okay, and now let's go back here and refresh. See, so this one is not found. Why? Because that is not our page. Now if you go back here and visit the items, now you should be able to see this is called the product dash page. Okay, and everything will stay the same. So we've just updated the slug of our page or our resource. Okay, so after that, here there is security. So you can just read this because this will only observe for any policies, and for now we didn't add any authorization thing, so I'll just not do anything about that. So now we have completed the basic key or the overview page of our resources. Now it's time for us to start to look on each of these pages. But when you are visiting these details, means you have a way to configure the listing, and here there is these things that you can do. So I'll just explain them one by one and in a fast-paced way, because I just want to make this to be a little bit quick, because the resources is the core of Filament panels. So that's why I was trying to explain every single thing in detail so that you guys can understand what is going on. So now on the listing of records, we'll be able to see on how you can configure the listing of your records. So see you on the next session, where we'll be discussing the rest of this concept concerning the Filament resources.